Welcome everybody to Three Wide in the Middle with me, Homestead, and my man back with me this week, Keith Bradley. Keith, missed you last week, man. How's it going?
Better now that technology wants to work for me.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So before we dive into we got a bunch of stuff to talk about this week, and the show is not very structured because I literally did not know what was happening until about 5 minutes before we started this recording. And Keith was out last week, and me and Keith usually keep pretty consistent dialogue throughout the week, especially when it comes to the scheduling of the pod and stuff. And the night before we recorded, I had said, hey, pod tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. He's like, all right, be there. And then he didn't show up. And it was like, oh, well, he must be working late or something like that. Because that's happened before where you've had to work overtime or, something's happened and you just didn't have a chance. You couldn't tell me, which, shit happens. I get it. So then this whole week, I didn't hear from him. And I'm starting to get worried, right? Because it's not like Keith lives down the road from me. It's not like I can just drive down to the house to make sure he's okay.
It's a long drive.
It's a long drive to Ohio. So I'm like, dude, everything okay? Don't hear anything. Like 4 or 5 days goes by and I'm like, hey man, I hope all is good, dude. If it is, we're gonna be doing the pod at this time. Didn't hear nothing. And then what was it, like 5 minutes before the podcast was scheduled to start, you sent the thing, hey, I'll be there. And I was like, all right, sweet. So I hadn't prepped a whole lot today because I didn't know what was going on. So Keith, what happened exactly, man?
So I get these new pedals and I was very underprepared. So it started with my rig breaking. My pedal plate broke from the force of the pedals. So I plugged in the pedals to the computer to figure out the software.
Mm-hmm.
Everything shuts off and I'm like, huh, interesting. Fan in my room shut off, like everything. I'm like, all right, well, that's weird. Turn around. Well, my boy shut my light switch off and nothing else is connected to that power circuit. So I'm like, oh man. So the computer took a poop.
Oh.
And then later that night, because I'm like, all right, I got Discord on my phone. I'll use it. Nah, I move a lot in my sleep. And those of you that move a lot in your sleep know, do not leave a glass of anything on your nightstand by your bed because it'll eventually get slung across the room. You'll get jumped over. Well, needless to say, I woke up that morning, picked up my phone to get with Tommy. Yeah, no, my phone was soaking wet and was not working.
Yeah. So
the dominoes fell very fast.
Been an interesting week. Yeah, it's funny because last week, or I think like 2 weeks ago, we thought our water pump, our well pump for the house was going out. And we actually ordered a new well pump. And what was happening with the well pump is that it was overheating and shutting off. And it's like, okay, the pump's bad. The pump was literally like 31 years old, probably even older than that. I mean, that's just how long we've had it. So it was like, okay, well, this pump's bad. We got a new pump. New pump comes in, we get it set up, and it's not really working. And it's like, damn it, what the hell? And so there's all these things going on where it's like, all right, well, maybe the pipe down into the well's bad, or maybe this is bad, or maybe the settings on the pump aren't set correctly. Maybe we need to change this. So we're doing all this, kind of troubleshooting. And I'm not a pump expert, right? I am mechanically inclined, but I don't know anything about well pumps or how they work or what they're supposed to do. Or, I know they're supposed to pump water out of the ground, so we have it for the house, but that's all I know. I don't know anything else about the way they work. So my brother spent like the whole day messing with it on Saturday. And, it was, he got it to where it was working. It was like, okay, sweet. It's working. Well, then it stopped working again, like a couple days later. And it's like, what the hell, man? So I go out there on Sunday and I'm like, all right, we're gonna get this thing working. We got to get this figured out because this is ridiculous. So I'm spending the whole day with it, and finally, I'm like, all right. I'm like, hey, the pressure tank has gone out. The pressure tank is the tank where the well pumps the water into this tank, and inside the tank is a rubber bladder, and the rubber bladder has air in it. And when you fill up the tank with that air bladder, that bladder of air in there, it creates pressure, which allows the water to flow through the house so the pump doesn't have to run all the time, right? Imagine if you blow up a balloon, you have a glass of water, you blow up a balloon and then stick it into the glass of water. What happens? You have water that pours out everywhere, right? If it's a full cup. That's essentially what a pressure tank is. Our bladder had ruptured. So I go get a new pressure tank. These things are not small neither, okay? They're big. So go get a new one. Get it back. Open up the box, pull it out. It's got a big ass dent in it. I'm like, God dang it. Freaking Home Depot. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't want to hook this up and run it because it's going to be under pressure. I'm like, with a dent in it. I'm like, the last thing I need is this thing exploding. For $500, this thing should not have a dent in it. So I take it back. Of course, that's the only one Home Depot has. So now I'm out searching for another pressure tank, and the only one I can find is a bigger one. And it's like, all right, well, we'll just get this. So get that, bring it back, get it all hooked up. Well, of course, to get it to fit, I gotta, disassemble one of the shelves in the garage, and I gotta move the fucking nightmare, man. Finally get it set up, and it's like 6 o'clock at night, 6:30 at night. Keep in mind, I started working on this thing at like 11:30 a.m. And so finally got it done at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And that literally screwed up the rest of my week because now I was already a full day behind on all my work that I needed to get done for my online business. We're switching over the glass business to an LLC. I was a full day behind on that. I was supposed to have all this paperwork done. I didn't have it done, and it's literally just torpedoed my entire week. It has been a disaster. So, yeah, I definitely glad you're back because I was worried about you, man. I was like,
I was alive.
cherry on top. Keith's in a hospital bed somewhere, and I don't even know how to find out. So glad to hear you're all right.
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, had an interesting weekend of racing last week at Vegas in the Cup Series. We got a lot of stuff to cover on the dirt side of things with the Dirt Track World Championship and the final race at Devil's Bowl Speedway, which is where the Outlaws got their start. Some news, potential news, or I should say, news on the potential union buyout merge of the All Stars and the High Limit Series. A couple of things happening behind the scenes with the employees. And we got, a couple other things to cover when it comes to USAC racing as Logan Seavey bagged himself a Silver Crown Championship. So all of that coming up on today's pod, so stick around. All right, Keith. So I didn't have a chance to do any real hit or miss questions because, like I said, didn't know what was going to be happening. But did you get a chance to see the Cup race at Vegas?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
I did too. I thought it was pretty good. Vegas, we've talked about this before. Vegas is a real on throttle track. I mean, you're almost wide open the entire time around that track. I mean, you're lifting for just a little bit going into the corner, and and that's it. Um, it got close there at the end. I was pulling for Larson. I wanted Larson to win. Of course he did, which is awesome. But it wasn't looking too good. When he did you see that save that he had where he blocked up all four, slid up and hit the wall, still kept it
Yeah,
going?
yeah.
I the guy's incredible, dude. I don't know what else to say. I don't think there's you could count on one hand and have fingers left over the number of drivers who could do what he did in that race.
No, and his car control is very impressive, and that's what
Mhm.
I like about Kyle Larson is he could be wrecking and make wrecking look badass.
Yeah, it looks incredible. It
And
looks so
and
cool.
and I'm gonna say that that dirt experience, whether it's sprint cars or late models,
Mhm.
helps him immensely because of the car control.
Yeah,
Being
I
able to
think so.
control a car out of control, especially a heavy ass stock car, is very impressive.
Yes, it is. No, I'm with you. I think it's incredible his abilities. We've seen him have miraculous saves before, and it was nothing short of that. I mean, locking up all fours, sliding it, coming off the wall, saving it. I mean, the car, you know, uh one thing the one thing you cannot deny about these cars is the bodies on them are so tough. You know, if that had been the Gen 6 car, his
Done.
race was over. Yeah, his race was over. So,
Yeah, and that's one thing I like about the Cup cars and
mhm.
even the Xfinity is you can beat the ever living dog crap out of them,
Yeah, they're a lot
and
tougher.
these damn composite bodies, I don't think they fail. And if they fail, you don't see it by the naked eye.
Mhm.
And I mean, you could bounce them off the wall, you can bounce off other cars, and car will look completely straight outside of the components, which is a whole different book, I
Yeah.
think.
Yep.
Um, and that's where I applaud NASCAR for bringing the composite bodies to the Cup Series. I mean, granted, yeah, a lot of people lost their jobs because now you don't have a fab shop within the shop.
Yeah.
But the composite bodies, I think, save the teams a lot of money.
Yes. I it's funny how that works because I think it's saving them a lot of money while also, the cars overall in general are costing the teams a lot of money.
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
don't yeah, I don't know where the price save the savings is coming from with the the cup car. And this is the thing though. We've talked about this before, and this is why I I don't know what NASCAR's gonna do next when it comes to their car, right? I know the next gen car, the Gen 7 car, is not going anywhere for a while. It's just not, right? Even you look at like the car of tomorrow, which was an absolute disaster, right? That car is, as much as we like to complain about the next gen car, it is still leaps and bounds better than that POS car of tomorrow. And it still took a while for NASCAR to make significant changes to that car. It did, and it was at a time where the teams were able to make the changes. That's not the case anymore. With all these single part suppliers and stuff like that, the changes are going to be at a glacially slow pace. So they're going to have this car for a while, and to me, I don't see the cost savings. The things are incredibly expensive. It's basically, I talked about this last weekend or last week. It's basically you're buying a Lego set. That's essentially what you're buying. It's like a box of Legos. Like, all right, put it together. Here's the guidelines. And I don't know how much of that they're going to change or keep with the car going with the Cup Series going forward. I think NASCAR has got a lot of changes on the horizon. Um, we've heard stuff about hybrids and all stuff like that, and I don't know. To me, we can't even get the damn tire figured out, let alone like what we're gonna do with the electric power going forward. Like let's worry about that first. So it's got its faults. Those faults will be unfortunately on display at Martinsville and Phoenix, the last two races of the season. But overall, I don't see any savings with the car. I don't. Denny Hamlin said it was like, a few $100,000 basically. They're racing Lamborghinis now, I think is what he called it. So yeah, I don't I don't get it what the deal is, but
Yeah,
yeah.
me either. Especially when you hear owners complaining
Mhm.
about you can't destroy the underbody of the car because it costs too much.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought these cars were supposed to be cheaper.
Yep. Yep. Well, it's supposed to be cheaper in the sense that you could take that one car and use it at multiple tracks. You weren't
Yeah,
building
yeah,
specific tracks, and I understand that.
and I get that to a point.
Yeah, I understand that too, but you can't this is it's why I actually think a a cost cap, right? Almost like a salary cap and you see in other sports, a cost cap is something that's going to have to be implemented in NASCAR. I think it's gonna have to get to that point. As long as you have an area where a team can spend money and find speed, they will do it. That is all there is to it. That is racing. That is what racing is. It's what every team on earth does it. Whether you are the Hendrix of the world or you are Uncle Harry operating out of his garage. That is what drivers do. We all did it, right? If I could dump more money into my car and get it faster so I could get up there and win, I was going to do it. Hey, you mean you spent $25,000 on the motor to win this $5,000 race? Yep. What? That doesn't make sense. I know. Right? But that's the mentality of a race car driver. It's the mentality of a race team. This is how it is. So as long as you have that, you're going to have these teams that are going to dump insane amounts of money to find literally not even fractions of a second, fractions of a tenth of a second, because that's how close these cars are now. We're like, dude, man, did you see that 42 car? How slow was he this week? Well, actually, he was only like a half a tenth off the leader. Oh, really? Damn, didn't realize that. Like, yeah, no, that's how close they are. So it's going to, I think it's going to have to be implemented because you cannot mandate it on the path that they're on right now. You can't say, hey, you got to buy these parts suppliers. Like, think about that. Single parts suppliers. Well, who's to say that those guys can't just start ratcheting up their prices, right? Like, how are we? Oh, well, they're gonna cost cap it, really, right? Like, you've seen what's going on in the economy today when it comes to inflation and stuff like that. No one can predict those things. No one can know what's gonna happen. So, how are we gonna govern all that through the entire racing series, right? Through with the cars. You can make them cookie cutter, but they're still expensive as hell. So, yeah, I don't know, little side tangent there, but it's just the the idea was great, and now that we've had it for almost 2 full seasons, um, it's made the mile and a halfs great again, but the short tracks and road courses suck more and more each race. And I talked about this last week. I think it sucks that the champion this year is going to be decided most likely by the team that has the fastest final pit stop of the season.
Yeah, and like the car, the idea is great. The execution is terrible.
Yes.
Um, like when they go to Martinsville in a week.
Mhm.
I'm not excited for it because it's not the same traditional Martinsville race. And then you take out the Chastain hail move.
Yeah.
It just I think the execution of the car has been terrible. But I think me and you beat this to a dead
Yep.
horse, I think.
Yep.
Now, if we could get a car like the Gen 6 to operate like the next gen, or to get the next gen to operate like the Gen 6, I think we'd be a whole different ball game. You
Yeah.
wouldn't see these top teams, some of the top teams struggling to run in the top 10, let alone trying to win a race.
Yep.
The short track package is dog shit.
Mhm.
The road course package, yet again, is dog shit, and I was very disappointed, and I'm gonna harp on this for a second, when this new schedule came out. Why in the fuck are we going to the Roval still? That race is terrible.
Yeah, I don't know.
When the Coke 600 is probably the most exciting Coke 600 I think I've watched in a very long time,
Yeah,
and it's put on a really good race the last 2 years. Why can't we just go back to the oval? Why do we keep trying to beat this Roval deal into the ground when it's not that good?
yeah,
And it's not that good on the Xfinity side either, which should be concerning. It's just terrible.
yep, it is. It is, it's horrible. So, there's a
Like, I
wow, I don't know. Like you said, we've talked about this so much. I talked about it last week with the schedule. It blows. The I the Roval sucks.
It's terrible.
Road course, pretty much all road courses suck in this car now, which is why it was created, and it's
Uh,
not very good.
in in my where my confusion is we have dozens upon dozens of purpose-built road courses through the United States and outside of the United States if you want to go that far.
Mhm.
Why not just go to a purpose-built road course? Like, I applaud them for going back to Iowa. I think that is the best move that they could have done,
Yeah.
honestly, because that place is great. I love Iowa, whether it's Xfinity or truck.
Mhm.
I can't wait to see what the new car looks like at Iowa. But come on, I mean, we learned this with the Indy road course. It was fucking terrible too. It was a
Yeah.
joke. Why can't we do it with the Roval? Why do we got to keep beating the Roval into the ground,
Yep.
especially at a beautiful racetrack like Charlotte?
Yeah.
But then again, they're tearing down auto clubs, so
Yep. Yep, exactly. So, uh, alright, well, moving on. We've got our NASCAR ranting out of the way, but we got some stuff to cover with the dirt track recap because we've got a lot going on in the world of dirt racing starting tonight as the dirt track world championships kicking off at Eldora. Plus, we've got the final weekend of racing at Devil's Bowl Speedway, which is pretty crazy when you think about the World of Outlaws literally began at Devil's Bowl Speedway. So, all of that coming up after the break. All right, so it is now time for our dirt track recap. So, first of all, before we dive into what's on the schedule for tonight and this weekend, Keith, did you see the last race of the Silver Crown season at IRP where Logan Seavey was able to lock up the championship?
I tried to tune in as much as I could. I'm not surprised that he did, though. I'm really not.
Yeah, it was a tough day for Cody Swanson. Yeah, they were just not very good. They just had a lot of trouble. CV was able to
Yeah,
hold on and got the championship.
and that's un-Swanson like,
Mhm.
especially on pavement. I think he's the pavement king of Silver Crown. He's the USAC oval ringer per se.
Yeah.
That was very surprising to see how bad he struggled,
Yep.
how bad the car looked. It was very shocking. But then a Swanson wins the race, so that's that's not surprising at
Yep.
all.
Yep.
Uh, but no, hats off to Logan Seavey. It almost looks like he's going to be a not only a Silver Crown champion, but I think he damn near has the midget points damn
Yeah,
near wrapped too.
he's got well over a 200-point lead. I think it's like 240-point lead over Justin Grant in the midgets. Um, Now they do have uh they've got a West Coast swing coming up that will but it's not for basically another month. I think it's like 3 weeks or something like that. They've got
And starts
Baker
November 14th.
yeah, and they've
Baker.
got Bakersfield, Placerville, Merced, and Ventura for the Turkey Night Grand Prix to wrap things up. Um, California tracks. Logan CV is from California. So was Justin Grant. Um, so and Timez. So it should be. I think you're going to see all three of those guys run really, really strong. And I would be shocked if CV doesn't get the championship. Um, he's had a pretty freaking amazing season this year. It's pretty incredible. We're gonna at the end of the season, we're gonna do our own kind of like dirt track awards, and CV's definitely going to be winning a lot of them because he's been on fire this year. I mean, ever since Chili Bowl, right? Starting off the year, gets the Chili Bowl win, and pretty much has been just on a tear since then.
Yeah, and he's been riding that momentum
Yep.
from the Chili Bowl, which is very impressive. Like
Yeah.
I wish he wouldn't have struggled as much in the sprint car side, but I don't think that was as much as him as it was the car. Seemed like
Yes.
they would be really fast and then they would have a mechanical failure
Mm-hmm.
on the car, whether it be parts, tires, engine. Um,
Yep.
but man, what he's done in the Silver Crown midgets, very impressive, I must say.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive. Like coming into the season, it was not on my bingo card to pick Logan Seavey to win either Silver Crown or midget champion. Like when we talk midgets, I immediately think of the Keith Coons guys, the RMS guys as far as Justin Grant goes.
Yeah.
I did not have Logan CV and Hibiscus Racing. I mean, they're not a big team. They're not compared to the other teams, they're not very big. And this
No,
is
they're
big.
not.
This is huge
Mhm.
for these guys.
Yeah. Yep. It is. It's incredible. Um, yeah, they've had an insane season, and it's just like you said, just been carrying the momentum all year long. So we got a few more weeks to see how that midget series is going to wrap up. Sprint cars, they're going to be wrapping up here. Is it next weekend?
Yeah,
Is it
next
next
weekend.
weekend at Red Dirt Raceway? Yeah, next weekend at Red Dirt Raceway. Justin Grant's got the points lead in that, and by all intents and purposes, he's gonna win it. He's got a 109-point lead over Brady Bacon. Grant really just needs to go make the feature and finish the race, and he should win the championship. Um, the Macho Man is gonna literally need like to go out, set fast time. I mean, he's gonna need to like sweep the weekend the way that
Yeah,
it's been going because he's really had some bad luck over the last few weeks. It's
and
been tough.
I do want to say this. I've seen and heard a lot of things like Justin Grant about Justin and
Hmm.
about Brady as far as Justin Grant didn't really earn this championship. Well, I want to tell that person, you're a fucking idiot. You're full for one. Because if you don't capitalize on somebody's failure,
Yes, exactly.
you don't have a points lead like Justin Grant has right now because we've seen Brady Bacon have an issue and Justin Grant capitalize on it in a big way. And we've seen it with the tables turn. Justin Grant have a bad night, Brady Bacon steps it up.
Yeah,
And this person that said it is a close friend of mine. And he was like, "Well, he just doesn't have the crew that Justin Grant does." Well, that's bullshit too. Because if you go back to Brady Bacon's trailer, and anybody can buy a pit pass or even go to the pits at the end of the night, just Brady Bacon has one of the bigger crews of the USAC where Justin Grant has an edge over Brady Bacon is Justin Grant had as a secret weapon, and his name's Jeff Walker, and he brought him back to sprint car racing.
yeah,
And it has paid off in a very big way. A
yep,
very big way. Um, when I seen that and read that message, I fell out of my seat like, you got to be shitting me, right?
yep,
You just said Justin Grant didn't earn this championship because Brady Bacon's had failures. But this is racing. This is what
yep,
racing's about.
yep. You got to
Uh,
finish laps.
yeah, I mean, you've got to finish laps, you got to win races, and you got to be consistent.
Mhm.
Brad Sweet is showing us consistency on
Yeah.
a weekend by weekend basis with
Yep.
the Outlaws.
Yeah, and if you look at what those guys have done this season in 2023, Justin Grant's got 11 wins. Brady Bacon's got 7. All right. Justin Grant has been on fire since SmackDown. Since he came out and literally laid the SmackDown at SmackDown, he's been on fire. And it just happens to coincide with Brady Bacon having his rough stretch. So, whoever said that, you're an idiot because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, right? That's so stupid. You cannot that's part of racing. That's the most important thing. That's why these teams after every single race need to be putting a wrench on every nut and bolt on the car and rerunning the valves and doing all, you know, all the maintenance and all the stuff that you have to do. The When we were running the midgets out here and we were running USAC Western States. We weren't even running the national series, man. We were on the Western State side of things. Every single time out, right? Every race weekend, when that car was done, I would have to clean it. And then I would have to check all the nuts and bolts. And I'd have to pull it all off and lube everything and check everything, right? Re-square it and reblock it and reset it up and all the time. You know how many times as especially as a 17, 18-year-old kid where I was like, "Oh my god, I just literally checked this the day before yesterday. Yeah, we raced it, but everything was fine. I really don't want to do it again." And I would do it again though because I knew in the back of my head, if I don't do this shit, something friggin' happens, right? Like you that's part of racing. It's part of racing. Being able to finish. You got to finish the damn races. So, no, Justin Grant did not. It's not like he backed himself into
Well,
what will become his championship.
and
He's
and
won
and
this
there
thing.
and there was another comment that pissed me off about it. It was said JG has a points lead because Bacon works on his own car. Well, that statement right there proves to me that you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Because Brady Bacon does have a crew chief. He's got
Yes.
2 crew guys. Um, does Brady work on his own stuff? I'm sure he does. I mean, what true racer doesn't? I know Brady does. I know Justin, he turns wrenches on his car too.
Justin
Robert,
is like the one calling the shots on his car
yeah,
a lot of times, dude.
and then Robert Blue, he's another one that works on his own stuff. And then Timez,
Mhm.
he works on his own stuff too. It blows my mind that people don't think about things before they say it.
Yeah, it's just because they want to it's fandom at its worst where it can't be that that
You
the
can't
driver that you root for is just beat my guy. It's got to be for some stupid reason.
you can't sit back and just say, "Man, Justin Grant's been very consistent this year," which he has. Week in and week out, that 4
Mhm.
car has either finished on the podium or just outside the podium, unless if something big has happened.
Yep. Yep.
And I think Justin said it himself when he knows Brady Bacon is out of the race, that's when he sends it.
Yep.
That's when he doesn't care because he doesn't lose or gain anything
Yep.
by
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
just I seen that and it made me think like, "The fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?"
Yep. No, if you look at their seasons in terms of just, what they've done overall, just straight stats, right? No crazy analytics or anything like that. Like I said, Justin Grant's got 11 wins. Brady Bacon's got 7. Feature wins, right? We're not talking heat race. We're talking about features. Brady's got 26 top fives. Grant's got 24. Justin Grant's got 29 top tens. Bacon's got 28. And Justin Grant's got an average finish of 6.3, and Brady Bacon's got an average finish of 6.7. It's a 100-point lead. You take the races where Bacon had trouble and Grant won those races, and there's your championship. And that's how close it is.
Yep.
So,
And, and therefore, and that's why I said you got to capitalize on these guys when they have major issues.
yes, absolutely.
And that's why I'm
Absolutely.
kind of glad, like at Lawrenceburg, when we seen Brady Bacon go out of the race. And Justin Grant didn't just send it, he sent it to victory lane.
Yep.
He didn't go back to I'm going to say Eldora, Justin Grant, when Brady Bacon went out and we seen Justin wad the car up
Yeah.
huh, because he did.
Yep.
Justin and Brady are very smart when it comes to points racing for a championship. I mean, we seen Justin do it last year. We seen
Mhm.
Brady do it years past. If you just look outside of the points, this has been a very close championship. It's been neck and neck up to now where it's got a 100-point lead.
Yep. Yep. That
And
is a
unfortunately,
fact.
Brady Bacon backed himself into a corner. And I'm not going to say it was Brady Bacon's doing because you you can't say, well, I'm going to go into this race and this part's going to fail because you don't know. You
Yeah.
truly don't know.
Yep. Yep. So,
Not to get off the rails, but
no, that's all right.
had to have a
That's
little
that's
tangent.
gonna be that's gonna be the that's gonna be the title of the show today, off the rails. So, because that's what we keep doing, but that's all right. We got to get out the system. Moving on, we've got the Dirt Track World Championship kicking off tonight or starting tonight at Eldora. Um, you've got the final four for the Lucas Oil late model series, the championship four. Essentially, it's just like NASCAR. They're the four of them, along with everybody else, running the race on Saturday night, the feature. Whoever finishes the best out of those four wins a championship. Now, Ricky Thornton Jr., who has led the points all season in the Lucas Oil Series, essentially all season, has basically had what could only be could only be quantified as one of the best seasons ever. I mean, it's what he has done is an absolute historic season. I mean, you have to put it on the same level as, Davenport in 2022 or Jonathan Davenport in 2015, right? Where he's got all these crown jewels, all these wins. Obviously, there was no $1 million race this year for him to win, but he's been just insane. And it's funny because coming into this final weekend, everybody is essentially just giving the championship to Jonathan Davenport because it's at Eldora. And don't get me wrong, Davenport's got to be one of the favorites because he does so well at Eldora. He's insane at Eldora. But let's not act like Ricky Thornton Jr. is just this, chopped liver and can't win there. I mean, I will not be shocked. Well, let me say this. If Devin Moran wins, I'll be shocked. But if Davenport, Hudson O'Neal, or Ricky Thornton Jr., any one of those three wins a championship, I'm not going to be surprised. And for those of you who think that RTJ is being robbed, he's not. Lucas Oil went to all the teams. They went to all the drivers and said, hey, man, this is what we're thinking about doing next year. What are your thoughts? And every one of them was like, love it. Let's do it. Let's go for it. So this was decided by the drivers knew what they were getting into. The teams knew what they were getting into. That you could have a Ricky Thornton level season where you win all these races, win all this money, you dominate the points, and then you lose the championship on the last weekend of the year. And that's what has made it so exciting. Love it or hate it, it's been exciting. Because the battle for that fourth and final championship spot was crazy. Those guys were just it was nuts. And the fact that Ricky Thornton Jr. could literally have a historic season and not get a championship just makes it that much more incredible. I mean, Jonathan Davenport ran the entire Lucas Oil Series this year because of this points setup. So it's like anything. Oh, excuse me. Like anything, it's got its good and its bad. So everybody, once again, we love to complain about the stuff we don't like. And you guys, don't get me wrong. I do it too. But let's not pretend that the drivers are the victims here. They agreed to this. They wanted this. So, whatever happens, happens. I think it's hard to not pick Jonathan Davenport. You know what I mean? Like I mean, Keith, you don't even watch late models, and even like Davenport at Eldora is almost, it's almost
Lock
guaranteed
it in.
money. Yeah. So, you know, um, he's he's incredible there. But Hudson O'Neal has been incredible there this year too. And if you remember in the World 100, Hudson O'Neal, very few people have been able to track down Jonathan Davenport when he's in the lead at Eldora. And Hudson O'Neal not just tracked him down, he passed him and got the win at the World 100. So, yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to this. I'm not going to get to watch it live because I'm going to be gone tomorrow night. My wife and I are going to a wedding, so I'll be watching it replay mode. I'm literally going to be avoiding all my social media stuff for the dirt until Sunday morning when I get up. I'm going to wake up early and watch it. So I'm really looking forward to it because it's going to be exciting. Because there's also a huge, make no mistake, it's also a big 100,000 to win. This is a huge event. It's not like it's just the championship for the Lucas Oil. I mean, this is a big time event. So, I mean, Bloomquist is going to be running it. Bobby Pierce, all the outlaw guys are going to be running it, which brings up a very interesting subject because we just had some news come out about the All-Star, more news on the whole All-Star high limit potential merger. For those of you guys who've been following this is something that has been it's been like talked about, whispered, in the background. Everyone keeps saying that this is going to happen, but there's nothing that's been concrete about it. I talked about this last week that if High Limit wanted to actually create this big time touring series, they were going to need tow money. They were going to need 75 plus races. They were going to need big purses and tracks and drivers and all stuff like this. And we've already got that. We've got it with the World of Outlaws. But there was some employees, some people with the All Stars who essentially were let go. And it's been kind of people reading between the lines thinking, hey, this high limit All Star thing's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen. What I do know is if it does happen and we end up with a split of the top sprint car drivers, what is that going to do to the sport? Because we have, what the World Racing Group does with the outlaw sprint car drivers, I don't like it. I don't. I don't like the fact that you have to commit and you cannot run anything else. There's got to be more leeway. And when you look at the late model side of things, right? Bobby Pierce, who's leading the World of Outlaws late model points, okay? He's leading the points in the World of Outlaws late model series. He's going to win the championship, all right? He's got 14 wins this season. He for Ricky Thornton's insane Lucas Oil run that he's had, Bobby Pierce has had one on the outlaw side of things. And Bobby Pierce this year has ran with Dirt Car, XR Series, right? The Flow Racing Series. Lucas Oil. He's ran with all these different series this year. He's going to be running the Dirt Track World Championship. I don't see him being punished by the World of Outlaws. I don't know if they've got massively different rules for the late model guys and the sprint car guys, but it sure seems like the late model guys have a lot more freedom than the sprint car guys. Am I wrong about that? Am I nuts? Because that's how it feels to me.
I mean, we talked off air about this,
Yeah,
and I feel the same way. It blows my mind that you handcuff these guys so bad, and then you look at the other divisions within World Racing Group, and them guys are out free roaming the country doing whatever the hell they want to do. But the outlaw sprint car guys cannot. They can do it what 3 times a year, which is fucking stupid.
4 times. Yep, 4 times a year. And to me, you can have these guys commit to running your series without punishing them for running anything else. There's a way to do that. You know, you don't have to just say, hey, man, you can only run this. Look at, one of the things that I like about the USAC midgets is those guys can go run Power Eye and Extreme and, all these other different midget series, right? And they're not going to be punished by USAC for doing that. And I think part of the reason why this potential split, we keep talking about this split, because if High Limit does merge with the All Stars, and like I said, this is all just hearsay right now, this is all pure speculation. But if they do that, and we end up seeing a split with the drivers, what's that going to mean? Right? Are we going to end up with what we saw back in the day with kart and IRL? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have hardly followed IndyCar racing since that happened. And I was a kid when that happened.
Same here.
You know what I mean? Like I was a kid when that happened, but I was old enough to understand like this is stupid.
And
So,
I live in Indiana where the Indianapolis 500 is, and I can't tell you the last time I sat down and watched a full Indy 500.
yeah. Now, I watch the Indy 500 every year, but it is there's only been 2 IndyCar races that I watch religiously. The Indy 500 and then the Indy cars at
The
Texas.
I'll be honest, the last one that I sat down and watched fully from start to finish was the last one Brian Clausen was in. I haven't since then. I'll sit
That's a
down and
long
watch
time
the
ago.
last 10 laps.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
What was that? 2013? 14?
14, maybe 15. One of the three.
Yeah. So, I just I'm worried that this could cause more harm than good.
Eh,
I I don't know. I'm just concerned about it.
yeah, I'm concerned with the division that it's going to cause between the sprint car community, between all these drivers within the World of Outlaws, and then you add in the drivers that race with the All Star Circuit of Champions that might want to make the jump to the World of Outlaws. And like I said off
Mhm.
air, you're not, in my eyes, you're not a small team traveling the country. You're just not. You're
Yeah.
a team with money. You're just not a competitive team like the rest of them.
Yep.
When you see a team like Wayne Johnson, and guys are going to be like, "Well, he ain't very good." Sorry, but he had the money to travel the country
Yep.
with the World of Outlaws. He just wasn't very competitive. And I wonder how many nights he sat down in his hauler and said, "Hey, if we travel up the road to this track, I bet we could win here." Because let's face it, he's won with the ASCS, with the other series that runs
Yeah.
through the lower southern states. Wonder how many times he sat down and said, "Man, we could go win this weekend, but we can't because our hands are tied.
Yep.
We can't truly be an outlaw because being an outlaw is going and running everything,
Yep.
running everywhere." And now this year, we've seen Wayne Johnson go do and race whatever he wants to race any weekend, every weekend. It just it pisses me off and it aggravates me to no end when a series truly handcuffs their drivers and tells them, no, you're not going to go run on a Tuesday when it doesn't even affect an outlaw event.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. So I just that's going to be something that I think is going to be very, very big as it plays out this off season, which we don't even really have much of an off season. But with all of this talk about this merger and what it can mean, I know that they've got to the World Racing Group has got to increase the purses for the standard shows. They just have to. I mean, that's just all there is to it. They've been running these 10 to win, regular shows for since the series started in like 1978. You know what I mean? Like that times have changed. The costs are insane. And if you want these guys to commit, I think that's a big thing too, is that these guys have said, look, you want us to commit and run only your stuff? We gotta have the opportunity to make more money. You've got to. Because that's a full-time job, right? Think about that. That's a full-time job. Right? Even if you're just a driver on the Outlaw Tour scoring, you know, top 10 finishes, right? You're a Brock Zierfoss. You know what I mean? Like that's a full-time job. You're on the road for what 40 weeks, 42 weeks out of the year. So you've gotta increase the money because you cannot have it at 10 to win, but 1,000 to start, or whatever the hell it is, when we've seen the costs of everything go up. Everything. So, yeah, more news will be covering that as it presents itself. But, anyways, so to wrap up this week's special catch up and rant episode, as we'll be calling it, we're going to do our GOAT of the week. So, Keith, who was your GOAT of the week?
Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst has to be my goat of the week. To see what he did in that Xfinity race in dominating fashion and not have something dumb happen and to win his first Xfinity race on top of signing his new deal with Stewart Haas was huge, not only for that team, but for Ford, but for Riley and Riley's family. And his story's kind of wild because he doesn't come from an oval racing background.
Yeah.
His family was predominantly in the off-road racing background, and hats off to Riley Herbst for getting his first Xfinity win. It was pretty badass to see, and to see the emotion after the race. Whenever you win your first race, I think is always awesome. It speaks truly to the fan of how and what that race meant to them. And then to do it in Las Vegas, where he's from, was the
Yeah.
icing on the cake for me.
Yep. Um, I'm I'm gonna go. Damn it, what's his name? Now I can't even remember his name. I'm so freaking lost and confused because I lost my paper. Uh, God damn it, who's Kyle Larson's crew chief?
Oh,
Uh, Cliff Daniels.
yeah, that
I'm
guy.
gonna go with Cliff Daniels. Larson obviously won the race and got into the final four. I'm gonna go with Cliff Daniels though, because if you go back and you listen to Daniels after the incident with Larson, and the guy, when you watch Kyle Larson, he really overdrives everything. Like he really does. And there's a lot of times he's doing it when he doesn't need to. You know, he's just. It's like, hey man, you don't have to like be melting your tires. It's lap 12, but he does it, and I give Cliff Daniels a lot of credit because the stuff that they did to get Larson back into that race after that incident, making the right calls, got that car dialed in. I don't think Daniels gets enough credit for what he does on that car. A lot of the credit goes to Kyle Larson, as it should. Okay, keep in mind, as it should. But what Daniels has done has been pretty incredible. And now they've got the opportunity to literally just focus solely on Phoenix, which is going to give them, I think, a huge advantage going into the championship here in a couple of weeks. So that is my GOAT of the week. So,
I like.
yeah. Anyways, that is going to do it for. And of course, I find it after I do it. God dang it. Never mind. All right, that's going to do it. Today's been a ridiculously unstructured and crazy show, but we'll be back next week with things more ironed out now that we've got the chaos in our personal lives figured out. And yeah, we'll be back here next week to do it all over again. So Keith, my man, glad to know you're doing all right.
I'm
And
alive. I just played my best impression of Bigfoot. I figured it was close to Halloween, so I'd try
there
it.
you go. So we'll be back next week to do this all over again. So enjoy the weekend's racing at Homestead. It should actually be a good race this weekend. It should be a lot of fun. Keep an eye out for who's your pick this week? We didn't do a NASCAR pick 'em. Just who's your pick?
Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick. I'm going
With that,
Truex.
I like both picks, but what intrigued me with the Kevin Harvick pick is I go back to 2014 as being a Kevin Harvick fan. That was my biggest memory of Kevin Harvick winning the championship at Homestead. And I think they will have a good shot at winning the race. So,
Yeah, and he's running the Bud car this weekend, right?
and that's another reason why I picked Kevin Harvick.
Yep.
He's bringing the 2014 the exact paint scheme back for this weekend, and I applaud Stuart Haas, Busch Beer, Anheuser for doing this for him, and I'm sure it'll be an emotional day for him.
Yeah, I'm sure it will too. So good pick. I'm going to go with Truex. I think Truex is going to get the win and lock himself in. Everyone wants to talk about, these drivers who can run the wall at Homestead. They talk about Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, as, you should. They're phenomenal on it. Denny Hamlin gets up there too, but Truex Jr. can be really fast there. And I think he's going to rebound and lock himself into the final four. Keep an eye on Blaney too. I think Blaney's going to I still got hopes that Blaney's going to make the final four. So, anyways, that's going to do it all for this week's show. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us. Please download, like, share, subscribe, all that other good stuff. Get that out to your friends, your family, and enjoy this weekend's
And
racing.
before we go, I want to give a big thoughts and prayers to our servicemen and women that are being deployed overseas in a time like what we have going on.
Yeah,
Hopefully they all
it's
stay safe. Shit's getting
it's
crazy.
yeah, it's getting bonkers. I I got to be honest, it's so crazy and depressing. I've been ignoring it, which not like that makes it go away, but I've been ignoring it because it's just yeah, it's getting nuts out there. So yeah, good call on that one. Thoughts and prayers to those being sent over there. Hope you all have a safe I guess we'd call it tour and make it home in one piece. But that'll do it all for this week's episode of Three Wide in the Middle. We will be back here next week to do it all over again. And until next time, take care.